Joining us now from Buenos Aires is Mr. Tobias Belgrano, political researcher, to explore the risks and realities of Trump's extraordinary financial intervention. Mr. Tobias, so we thank you so much for being with us. Let me here start by asking, what exactly is a swap line and why is the U.S. offering one to Argentina now?
So a swap line is an exchange of currencies. The Argentinian government would provide the U.S. Treasury with Argentinian pesos, the national currency, and the U.S. would provide Argentina with U.S. dollars, generating special demand for that currency, which is already very demanded. However, we already have a swap line with China. Why? Because China wants to keep growing its demand and its international reserves in its currency. So that's the reason why the US is trying to provide a swap line, initially because the country currently has very low international reserves, which is a problem in Argentina, because as I was mentioning in other interviews here with you, this is a country where people have their savings in US dollars, and that's a problem for Argentina, as not any other country does that. Society has the savings in US dollars, and that generates an extra demand for the central bank's reserves, causing fluctuation in currency exchange and potentially more inflation.
Right. Milei's reforms cut inflation but left deep social scars. Now, how sustainable is his program?
Well, currently is what's being challenged, especially by Washington. The swap line has some conditions which are still rumors, but are part of the conditions that we already think we are seeing here in Buenos Aires, is that Milei needs to be more politically open to the opposition, which has not been the case. There's the need for more political stability, or what we call political stability, which is not the case for Javier Milei. The continuous discussions with the opposition, and especially with the governors that in Argentina have a lot of power, has shown how the Senate, with the senators respond directly to the governor, has shown a lot of defeats for the government. Every reform recently the government has tried to pass, it has been blocked by Congress, because the governors are very angry currently with the government, and that has effects politically, because Argentina is divided in many provinces, and these provinces have strong and powerful governors that might affect the electoral result for the government in October, which would affect the number of legislators the government has in Congress. With a small number of senators and deputies, the government is not able to show political strength to sustain the reforms and show the investors that the changes that the government is intending to impose are going to be stable in time, which is a problem with all the political noise that we are having right now.
Now, do you see this U.S. intervention as economic stabilization or outright election interference?
Well, I do think it's the second option. It's outright election interference, as the U.S. wants the government. The government's economic plan has not worked. In April this year, the government has needed to ask the IMF for a loan to keep its program moving. And now, again, after that loan, it's been used by the government. The government needs, again, another loan from the US. So if you are a government that you have an economic program that demands you keep borrowing from abroad to be able to provide stability, you are not able to provide stability, so another country has to provide it for you. And this is the case for the US. Secretary Scott Bessent has even said that the U.S. Treasury would buy Argentinian debt bonds, which are currently known in the market as trash bonds. So, yes, it's a clear intervention to show, especially to the other countries of Latin America, that being a sideline with Trump pays back. If you are an ally of Mr. Trump, you're going to be paid back, and this is part of the payment that Javier Milei is now receiving for his continuous adulation of Mr. Trump and his his closeness to the Republican administration.
Mm-hmm. Many compare this to Mexico's 1995 bailout. So is Argentina's case similar or more severe?
Well, it's similar in the level of intervention. What the problem is that it's not politically related, the Mexico one, and also the problem is that Mexico it's a strong ally, commercial ally of the U.S. in many industries. However, Argentina competes with the U.S. with its industry, and this has been a problem because the government needs to accumulate foreign reserves, international reserves, with loans or with reduction of export taxes, which is what happened last few weeks. After the government reduced export taxes, China bought a lot of soybean from Argentina, which caused a lot of anger and resentment for the U.S. farmers, which are complaining with Scott Bessent and the Republicans saying, you are providing Argentina a bailout and helping them and helping our competitor while we are not able to sell to China, and Argentina is now selling all the China demand instead of us. We're not able to compete with Argentina because we are conflicted with China. Now Argentina is coping the market. And this has been a problem. Even the Secretary Bessent had to give some answers because of this situation.
But then when we go to the other side, and Trump's Treasury insists this is a liquidity crisis, not a structural one. What do you have on that?
Well, Argentina is a very complex economy, so I would say it's mainly a structural one. As I was saying at the beginning, the country has to recurrently ask for international loans to keep the program working, and the liberalization, even the liberalization or privatization of public company has not been moved forward. The states keep paying the pensioners, the elderly for their pensions, and has not even been able to privatize that. And without that political capability, it's fighting a Congress that it's against many of the reforms the government is trying to implement. So it's a very hard place to be, especially if politically you're not able to sustain the reforms. I think this has to do with a political intention rather than an economic liquidity problem.
Mm-hmm. So whether it's liquidity or structural one, what risks does this carry for the US if Argentina will not be able to stabilize?
Well, the main problem is that the country needs to accumulate foreign reserve, which has not been doing it during 2025. During 2025, the government stopped accumulating international reserves, which was a problem because we have the country has IMF loans to pay and also the American loan to pay now, or the American swap. If the country needs to accumulate reserves, that would cause further demand, extra demand for the dollar in the formal market, which will rise the currency exchange, making peso weaker. If Argentinian peso is weaker and the dollar rises, this trend tends to translate on prices and inflation. So if we have more inflation, this will affect the popularity of Javier Milei. So probably in the end, what the U.S. Treasury will see is that they are paying an ally, or they are trying to help an ally which is politically non-viable, and they are wasting the U.S. taxpayers' money for an ally that won't be able to transcend for a second term.
This is on the economic side. If we speak politically, how does this affect Argentina's ties with China, which has also provided swap lines?
Well, the tension is there, but it's also not a smart move from the U.S. either, because currently the U.S. is not, the market liberalization of Argentina is not being taken advantage by U.S. production. There's not an import boom of U.S. production goods rather than Chinese production goods. So currently the U.S. government is providing a bailout to the Argentinian government to keep currency exchange low, so Argentinians are able to go on vacations abroad, to buy Shein, the Chinese platform app, or Temu app. things that are come from China. I mean, the import avalanche is coming from China, not from the US. So it doesn't make sense also economically.
Mr. Tobias, before we end, and very briefly, does this reveal Trump's broader Latin America strategy, geopolitical economics, or simply politics?
No, it's of course Trump geopolitical approach of showing loyalty to the ones who are loyal to the US and punishing the ones who are not.
Right. Mr. Tobias Belgrano, we thank you so much for your insights